The Mariners have gotten contributions. One of the questions I asked on our notes is, who are the unsung heroes on this team? We know the big names. We know the whole rotation essentially are all big names at this point, it feels like, and Julio and everybody else. But one of the unsung heroes out there, obviously Josh Rojas, has been the most consistent hitter they've had this season.
For sure.
But Dylan Moore has played really well. He's played really well, and you just move the average out of the way. You look at him; he drove in 5 runs on Friday. He was 1 for 3 with an RBI yesterday. He's got 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 3 stolen bases, 786 OPS in 17 games since taking over at that shortstop position with J.P. Crawford out. So, do you try to find a way to get him in there more often? Is he a guy you start putting in left field when JP's healthy? Obviously, JP's your starting shortstop. So when he's healthy, he will be back out there.
Right.
And I saw him out there when we were out there Friday. I mean, he was out there doing all the fielding drills. It didn't look like he was limited at all. He looked like he always has. I don't know how he feels swinging the bat or how he looks. I didn't see that. But fielding the ball, he looked 100%.
Yeah.
So he's going to come back. What do you do with Dylan Moore? Do you feel like, hey, because my argument with Rojas was you can't sit him against lefties. He's your hottest hitter in a cold lineup. You can ill afford to take out the hot bat. I don't care how you feel he does against lefties, which if you look at historically, almost identical numbers as what he's done against righties. It's just a complete difference in opportunity. But for Dylan Moore, is there any urgency to keep him in the lineup, or do you feel like, no, they're going to be – he'll go back to his utility role and spotting guys when they need a day off? How do you view his role?
Well, I think that with Dylan Moore, like some guys respond really well when they're coming off the bench, but then they get an everyday, they get everyday playing time. All of a sudden, they start figuring stuff out because they're playing every single day. They're not so overwhelmed with pitches. One thing, you go back to Dylan Moore when he's predominantly on the bench, there's a little bit of that overwhelmness, any velocity up in the strike center or that, whatever it may be. But the fact he's getting to play every day is great. So you look and they go, oh, well, no, he's doing great. Let's just go slide him back on the bench. I think you have to find ways to keep him in the lineup if he's doing what he's doing. He's had some really big games for this team. And he's showing some power as well. The exit velo's up a little bit. So I think that if you can, because he is so versatile, find somewhere to slot him in. But again, in regards to, obviously when JP comes back, he's your everyday shortstop, no matter what. That's just kind of how it goes for a while. And then on the Rojas side of things, man, you asked me who the unsung. I mean, he's been so good. I can't speak highly enough. And not so much he's hitting. Your leadoff hitter goes down when you're team leaders, and then boom, he slots right into that leadoff spot. Not easy to do. It's not like he's slid into the 6th hole off the bench or something like that.
Yeah,
he's at the top of the lineup, and he's been really, really good. Yeah,
he's. You got to. I've said when JP comes back, I leave Rojas in that leadoff spot. I bat JP 9th.
Oh, okay.
He was struggling before he got hurt. He was not hitting well.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this is because he's bad and he's not going to be good this year, but I'm saying you want to get those guys back to back. If JP can get hot, you take the pressure off of leading off, right? His first day back, his first couple games back. Let him find his rhythm. He didn't have his rhythm before he got hurt. So I would put him in the 9 hole and then have Rojas coming up right behind him. If JP's starting to get on working walks, all of a sudden Rojas is coming up with runners on. He can do some damage there.
Do you think it's something where he has to, it sounds ridiculous because it's not like he's competing against teammates, but earn his way back into that leadoff spot?
Kind of. Yeah. I just think we've talked about how inconsistent the lineup is. The one consistency has been Rojas.
Yeah.
I just don't think you mess with it. You got one guy who's been pretty damn consistent. Leave him alone until he's not consistent. Leave him alone until he hits a big valley there and he's scuffling and maybe it becomes punitive. He's starting to hurt you at the top of the line. Until that point, I don't care if it's a lefty or righty. I leave him there.
It's a great point, and you think of it too, right? JP, when he was hitting down the bottom of the line, remember? And then I think Julio, they shifted him a little bit.
Yeah. He was leading off for a bit. And,
So they took him out of that spot. JP kind of earned that spot. He's kind of hungry to get to the top of the lineup. Yeah. The other part of it is too was like, all right, well, you're not swinging for enough power, so he's kind of hungry to go fix that issue as well. He was inconsistent, so on and so forth. So I think that's a good place for him. I'm not talking about hitting 9th. I'm talking about, all right, come back in the lineup. Now you're healthy. Now you have to go earn it a little bit. some guys respond really well, and he tends to. And his history kind of shows that.
Yeah,
Might be a good thing.
I'll be curious to see how Scott works it when he is healthy.
Because some guys, you do that to them, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know, this
They're gonna shut down.
Yeah, this is BS, and this is whatever, and then they start pointing fingers. That's not JP Crawford at all.
Yeah.
But some guys, I've played with guys like that. They all of a sudden shift down. Every time I see someone go from hitting third down to hitting seventh, I'm like, all right, here's a little test of your character, because I've played with guys, man. They get pushed down that lineup, and they crumble under it. That's not JP. I think that's a good spot for him for sure.
Sean Figgins. What about putting more perhaps in left field, but then you've got Canzone coming back.
Right.
You want to get Raleigh as much opportunity as you can. You've seen what he can do when he runs into one. My goodness, that guy has got some pop, but he hasn't found his rhythm yet either. So you've got guys, Canzone you look at as potentially your future. Raleigh is a guy you brought over in the offseason, yet here's Dylan Moore, who's been hot. Left field could be a spot where you get him more turns, at least until Canzone gets back. But then you still have that decision, like, all right, does he just go back to being our utility guy who's going to spell this guy at second one day, spell this guy at left field one day? And
it's what's the timetable on Canzone?
Have we heard what? I know
Pretty
he's
soon,
had a couple.
I think.
Really?
Maybe what? I don't want to make a guess here, but he was playing over the weekend, and what did Justin Hollander say? A little quicker than JP Crawford he expected, so
pretty
imminently.
I think Canzone still, if you're going, and this is nothing to do with how much playing time, but it kind of is that. I don't think Dominic Canzone has played his way into being the established. The minute I come back, boom, that's my spot.
Right.
There is a little bit of that where they're very high on Dominic Canzone. Big part of a trade last year where they do want to get him regular playing time. Otherwise, what's the point? But another guy, come back and earn that spot again, where you're going to play every single day in left field against righties and lefties, both. You talk about the splitting time against righties and lefties.
Yeah.
So it's something where it's like, all right, if you want to be that guy in left field every day that you're working towards, and that's what you were essentially doing before you got hurt, because he was inconsistent too before he got hurt. He started to figure things out.
Yeah, a couple of big bombs, but then there'll be a drought in between.
Right.
Yeah.
But if he's, 7 years into his career, okay, it might be a little bit different. But no, that's another guy that you kind of have to earn that playing time again.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that they've got some options. You just not enough guys are hot at the same time. Yeah. So I'm really reluctant to pull out anybody who feels like they are hot or trending that way,
right? Because
you just don't have the luxury of these 1 through 5 are crushing it, and the bottom, we can mix and match and we're going to be fine. You don't have that yet. It felt like yesterday could have been a step towards it. We're kind of learning not to put too much into one game. It felt good. It was awesome to see. Let's see if they can continue that through this series with Kansas City. But it's good that you're kind of in a position of tough choices.
Yeah, for sure. And you see Polanco too. Another guy. I go back to him. He's not hitting at the top of the lineup. Yeah. And so, all right, if he gets on a little bit of a roll, how you mentioned 1 through 5, how you sort of manage that lineup. It's kind of like Scott Service for every day. He has to pick and choose how he's going to do it, because you just don't have that. All right, that's his spot in the lineup. Boom, he hits really well after him, and he's doing this and doing that. That's just not the case right now with this team.